What's up, guys, and welcome to episode 14 of Mr. Millennial's Revenge. I'm your host, Nick DeMaria. Thanks for tuning in. So on today's episode, I am so fucking excited to share with you because I have trumpeter, suave dresser, Bill Brasky himself, Josh Bruneau. Josh is one of the young lions on the trumpet, and anyone who knows him knows that is not an overstatement. Josh is an incredible guy, an incredible player of this great music, and he's just like one of my brothers. I know I've been interviewing a lot of people I know, but you know the show's young, and I keep saying I'm practicing on colleagues. To get my interview chops going. But seriously, like, you know, Josh and I have known each other for a while, and I haven't been able to see him. So I'm so happy to get him on the podcast, catch up. I feel like this is like the first time him and I have been able to really chat since the summer. So I'm really excited to share that with you guys. Let's get the housekeeping out of the way, right? So Mr. Millennial's Revenge is a production of the New Haven Jazz Underground, which is a grassroots community-based organization dedicated to producing concerts, clinics, and jam sessions, all in the name of jazz in the great city of New Haven, Connecticut. And we are completely crowdfunded. So how can you help keep us doing what we're doing? Well, you can go to patreon.com, sign up as one of our patrons, and for as low as $2 a month, you can support our efforts keeping jazz alive in the great city of New Haven. Our Mind the Hang series is gonna take a break for January. You know, it's dry January, right? We're all supposed to hit the gym, stop drinking, and get back to business and be a little somber, right? So we decided to not have a show in January. And we'll be back in February, so stay tuned for details on that. But, why am I talking about this? The Mind the Hang series is completely crowdfunded. We have been able to put on concerts since July, all based on contributions from our patrons and financial backers on Patreon. So it really goes a long way, and I appreciate all our patrons who have signed up already and continue to help us keep the jazz flame going in the Elm City. So if you're interested and you can't break the bank too much, we have a $2 level, and it goes up from there, $5, $10, $20, and everything counts. So I really appreciate any contribution you can do, and help keep this organization employing musicians. So how do you do it? Go to patreon.com/NHVJU, sign up, and it's that simple. So thank you so much, and let's keep the music going. So it's the holiday season, right? And I know in the last episode I was going to talk about Yuletide, and this episode's being recorded on New Year's Eve, actually. It's December 31st, 2020. And, with the holidays and stuff, things just, you got plans for stuff, and you're also balancing the holiday season. So my episode that was planned to focus on Yuletide didn't come out as early as it wanted it to. But I feel like it's still worth talking about because it's still pretty great, So what is Yuletide? Yuletide is Christmas time, right? And I think the history of holidays is pretty interesting because most of them are just like, okay, here's holidays that existed. We're just gonna blanket it with Christianity and pretend that it doesn't exist previously from that. And I'm a school teacher, and I love Halloween. I talked about it a couple episodes ago. And one thing that drives me nuts is there's a student who will, it's no fault of their own. It's fine. But there's a student who will be like, I can't talk about Halloween because it's Satan's birthday. And it's like, oh, for crying out loud, give me a break. and it's like it makes me want to investigate the history of the holidays more, and where they come from and stuff. So Yule is like the celebration of winter, basically. I'm no expert. I just think it's cool. So if you're interested, just stay with me. I think it's cool, right? That's it. So you got ancient Europe, basically. You got the Germanic tribes and the Saxon tribes and the Anglo tribes and all this stuff, and they were pagans, man, and they worshipped spirits that lived in trees and rocks and rivers and stuff like that. So they would decorate their homes with firs and pine and stuff like that, because it symbolized life, and it was supposedly to keep like evil spirits out. Now, if I'm wrong about any of this stuff, I apologize, but I tried to do a little research before I decided to record it and put it out there in the world. But I just think it's cool, like pagan worship, man. How pure is that in some ways? Like, you just think that like everything living has a spirit. I think that's really great. And I'm not a big Christian guy, so and it's probably because let's just say I see a lot of the opposite. Especially in the era of Trump, right? Like, so I don't want to talk about Trump. Let's keep it going. So, as far back as the ancient Egyptians, Chinese, Hebrews, and Romans, man, people were putting pine, fir, trees or branches in their homes to celebrate life during a time where, there is not a lot of evidence of it, so you got this eternal life symbolism going on in your home. And, like the Vikings and the Saxons, right? These are like the people that, fucked up the Romans at the end of their run and created the European countries that we love and know all too well. But like, man, they all were like pagans, dude, and brought in the pine trees and all that kind of stuff into their homes. And, you get like the early elements of like Christmas and stuff. I just think it's so cool, man. Like it really is like the symbol of life. So like, you get like the pine and fir trees coming into the home and being celebrated. And then what does that end up turning into? The Christmas tree. Because as, the Renaissance happens and stuff, people start blanking shit with Christianity, and it usurps all these old pagan holidays. And so that's where you get your Christmas tree from, Like, I just think it's cool. And like the Yule log, which is like the symbol of burning this giant log to celebrate life and light, during a very dark time. I think that's really cool. And I just like that a lot of these ancient traditions like are still celebrated today, man. Like when I was a kid, my dad loved nothing more than watching the Yule log, right? And I know that's so like boomer cliche shit, right? But the Yule log dates back so far. It's cool, man. It's a connection to like humanity across millennium, basically, right? So I just think it's hip. It's always fun to look into the early, stuff when it comes to holidays before basically like not whitewash, but you know what I mean? Like the history is blanketed over with, other ideas of where it came from. And it's cool also, not to shit on Christianity, but it's cool to see the blend, it's cool to see like, oh, look, like, we need to get people on this Christian vibe, so let's just combine the holidays. There was this, in my research, I saw that there was this like like king from Norway who basically like was a secret Christian. So he said that Christians celebrate Christmas the same time as the pagans celebrate Yule, and the celebrating didn't stop until, and this is what I discovered, until the ale was gone. And that's fucking killer, right? Like, so we're just going to celebrate together at the same time until all the booze is gone. That's my kind of holiday. So anyway, take a peruse in the internet and check out like Yule stuff. And, they like even caroling is apparently like from this Yuletide stuff. So it's just cool. It's just really cool. And like to get into the jazz thing, right? Like so many styles of jazz, assimilated from various other forms of culture and music and all this stuff, man. There's all these comparisons. They make sense. So, check it out because it's super cool, and I think like it's worth digging into. So Yuletide, happy Yuletide, everybody, even though it's basically over. But yeah, check it out. So the other day, I went to the record shop for like the first time in a while, and man, I miss it. I miss digging in crates, dude. So one of my favorite record shops to go to in New Haven is Elm City Sounds. Chris and his crew there, they're always fully stocked with all kinds of great stuff. And it's like a cool little, like a little storefront kind of shop. It's awesome. But I digress. I just didn't want to talk about this other shop without mentioning, New Haven Zone. So with that, Chris, you're love you, man, and I love your store. But I went to Red Scroll Records in Wallingford a couple of days ago, and I go there a little bit less often in general when Integrity in Music existed, but it's always a pleasure to go to Red Scroll, and they have this new facility now. They basically like moved from their shop in like Main Street, Wallingford, to like near the Oakdale, in like basically a factory building. So it's this place is like 10 times as big as it used to be, which is great because one thing that always drives me nuts about record shops is I love how they're small, right? They're little stores, but if you're perusing and somebody's trying to peruse next to you, there's a lot of like elbow bumping, and especially in the era of COVID, like that makes it even worse, right? So it was awesome that Red Scroll was so much more spacious now, and man, the inventory they put out, because you could tell that they couldn't carry it all this stuff on the shelves when they were in the original spot. So their jazz, soul section, funk was awesome. I'm actually thinking about going again today because I just couldn't buy everything I wanted when I went, and there's stuff there I need. So whenever I go there, I love checking out they call it their weirdo section. Always find great stuff in there. I'm really into like avant-garde electronic music and stuff. I can't even tell you about like the composers and musicians involved. I just like grabbing a record in that section based on its cover, whatever grabs my eye, and just going home and checking it out. And I'm kind of into like drone music and like ambient stuff, so it's a lot of that kind of stuff. One of the more recent discoveries is a guy named Sun Tapes. I believe he's one person, and he creates like ambient kind of stuff, a little bit more accessible than like Music Concrete or something like that. But you always find great stuff in those bins at Red Scroll, so I really appreciate that. Like they keep that stocked, but also, man, they do a good job of keeping their jazz, soul, and funk section pretty stocked. Great new stuff. I picked up Kamal Williams' record, The Return, on vinyl. I didn't own it on vinyl yet, and I fucking love that record. I need to do an episode about him because I feel like he's becoming like my favorite, one of my favorite musicians right now, and I'm always playing his stuff. Like this, like I said, the soul section and the funk stuff that they got there, it's great. It's fully stocked, but their used stuff, man, exponentially more stocked than they used to be in their old spot. And I found so much stuff, including a couple of Ricky Ford albums on Muse Records. Now, Muse Records became basically High Note Records, if I got my history correct. It was a small label in the 70s. You could find a lot of Woody Shaw on Muse, Louis Hayes, Junior Cook, those kind of guys. And there's not a lot. It seems to be hard to find Muse records, but like in the Bruneau prestige way, it's like I haven't found one that isn't good. So I'm not like Ricky Ford. I guess he's like a contemporary of like Bobby Watson and Donald Harrison, and he's a tenor player. I should have said that up front. So he's probably like a little bit older than what am I trying to say? He's probably of that like 80s generation is what I'm saying, like Terrence Blanchard, those kind of guys. And I only know about him because Eddie's on a record of his that I really like. And these records, I picked them up and I just bought them immediately. One, because they were like mad cheap. They were like $4 a piece. But also they were stacked with these lineups, man. We're talking Wallace Roney, R.I.P., James Spaulding. Who else is on some of them? Mulgrew Miller and like Lonnie Plaxico and shit like that. And it's like these cats are, they're killing. And so like that's what Muse Records albums are like. It's like no matter who's on it, who the leader is, the album is probably going to have like some great players of this 70s, mostly, and then it like kind of, like I said, it changes. But yeah, they're always like cheap. And I truly enjoy listening to music that's priced more affordable than some others, because then you can buy a shitload of it, right? So I've been checking it out. And I need to go back to Red Scroll and get there. And, in this era where cats are struggling and the economy's so fucked up, like, I feel like I'm doing my part. My wife and I, we order takeout food like pretty regularly to keep the restaurants going. But like, also shopping small, man. And what better for a musician than to buy some vinyl? And, there used to, in case you didn't know, there used to be a store up in Weathersfield called Integrity in Music, and I could dedicate a whole episode to that store. But I got so much of my jazz recordings there, and back in the day, I got so many Blue Notes and Prestige albums, either on CD or vinyl, at a very low price, which I truly miss, because I used to spend like $100 and walk out with a shopping bag of CDs. So these stores are few and far between these days, but like, the ones that still exist, man, I feel like they're doing a great job of keeping like that experience alive. So definitely check out Red Scroll in Wallingford. Check out Elm City Sounds in New Haven. I know what's that place, Jerosa or something? There's a place out in Danbury that's pretty hip. There's Records of the Good Kind up in Vernon, and I love that store because Records the Good Kind is a Simpsons reference. So so I will definitely talk about them anytime and promote them just based on the title of their store alone. So, go out, if you can, in the new year, you get a little extra cash, go buy some vinyl, man. Go. Because you know what? I don't need to explain that, like, listening on vinyl is a different experience. I'm not one who's like, oh, it sounds so much better. I don't give a shit about that. What I like is it forces me to listen, because everything's like it's very zen. It's like the record is just gonna go, and if you don't want to pay attention, that's your problem. So it's like, it's a great opportunity where you put the phone down, you put the record on the table, you move the needle to the track you want, and you just focus on the music. And maybe I would, I'd have better ears if I grew up in the vinyl generation, because with the digital shit, man, it's how easy is it to turn on Spotify, and then before you know it, you're like, I'm fucking Facebook, right? And you're like, goddamn, I gotta go listen to this track again. So, the vinyl experience is something worth experiencing. So get out there, get a turntable, and you don't have to make it crazy. It could be pretty basic stuff. I have some pretty, my setup is pretty basic. So, but go out there, get some records, and experience the vinyl listening, and especially throw on some more obscure albums. That always helps too. So, deep cuts, right? So let's get to my interview with Josh Bruneau. So Josh Bruneau is a graduate of the Hart School of Music, and he's a fellow trumpet player. I first met him years ago. He is in the house band at the Owl Shop in downtown New Haven, and I would go there with my cousin and brother, and have a cigar, drink some whiskey, and listen to some excellent jazz that they would have there every Wednesday. So I had heard Josh for a while, and he reached out to me, honestly, after a couple of years, and we hit it off right away. And we both found out that we studied with Eddie Henderson, and he's my brother in arms, man. I love this kid. He is the embodiment of jazz language on the trumpet. He's a big fan of Blue Mitchell, Freddie Hubbard, Miles Lee. The kid knows his history and his vocabulary. And every time I listen to him play, I say this all the time. Every time I hear him play, I'm like, God damn it, that's another lick I need to learn, like another classic lick. And he is totally a student of the music, and he's a great artist in of his own right. And I am truly blessed and feel honored to be friends with Josh. He's my brother. He's the person I hit up when I need to lament over the instrument. I can't tell you how many times, and we talk about it in the interview, I can't tell you how many times one of us has texted the other and said, hey man, this bar, 4:00, need to talk, and he's always been a great friend, and he's always been there. And I'm just so proud that in this time he has been, getting his name out there, honing his skills. He's worked with Curtis Fuller, Steve Davis, Eric Alexander, I know Al Foster. I know I'm forgetting people, and Josh, I apologize. I should have made the list before I did this, but he is a young working man, and I expect him to be in the limelight for a long time. So check out my interview with trumpeter Josh Bruneau. Ladies and gentlemen, joining me now via Zoom in the Mr. Millennial studio is the Dancing Destroyer, the King of Sting, the Prince, the Count of Monte Fisto, brother from another mother.
Wait.
The only person I can get away with drinking PBRs in the middle of the day with, trumpeter, my good buddy, Josh Bruneau. How are you, sir?
Wait. I'm good, man. I'm good. But wait. The Count of Monte Fisto? Excuse me?
The Count, yeah. I actually read off. Okay, so I missed one. The Master of Disaster, the King of Sting, the Dancing Destroyer, the Prince of Punch, the Count of Monte Fisto. That was going to be your intro, and I started laughing. I am actually on Apollo Creed's Wikipedia page.
That is okay. See, that's why we get along so well.
Yeah, it was funny. I was so desperate for the perfect intro, and I thought of that one. And I'm looking for all the times Apollo came into the ring, and all the YouTube videos would cut out. And so I was like, oh, what do they call? I was like, I know they call him the Master of Disaster, but they call him other stuff.
Like all the times where James Brown's singing in
all of them, in all the Rocky movies. Yeah.
Right.
And I end up through searching, I'm at the Apollo Creed, not the Carl Weathers, the Apollo Creed Wikipedia page. And it luckily had all of them listed. So, but no one deserves an entrance like Apollo Creed, like you, my friend.
Well, I really, really, really appreciate that, brother. And thank you. I'm honored.
I'm so glad
Apollo
I could finally
Creed
get you on.
One of the greatest Americans that I can think of.
Yeah,
to be honest with you, and I'm not even saying that in any jest or anything. I'm totally serious.
I knew you would love it. That's why I did it.
Yeah, of course.
How are you, man? It's been a while. Happy holidays.
I'm good, man. I'm going a little crazy just in the house. You know what I mean? But I'm trying to take it one day at a time and try to keep the horn on my face as much as possible, but that's getting even more and more difficult as the days and weeks progress.
It's tough, man. It's tough to stay motivated. I hear you, and the trumpet, for anyone who doesn't know, the trumpet is quite unforgiving after like 2 days, it starts to feel funky.
Well, that quote that Clark Terry always used to say, if I take one day off, I can tell. But if I take 2 days off, everybody in the audience can tell.
Yeah.
It's like that. And you know what's really funny too? I've been really thinking about Miles, because in that period from 75 to 80, he didn't play his horn for like 5 years, man. And that's I'm going on, I'm practicing, but it's not as much as I'd like to, but 5 years without even touching your horn.
I know, you might as well quit.
And I feel like a paraplegic.
Right. I mean, you go 5 days and you feel like you've never played, but that's what drives me nuts.
I literally felt like I was in 5th grade again.
Yeah.
like first starting and like learning my fingerings and the
Yeah.
embouchure.
Yeah.
I felt like that.
Everything feels awkward. You know what? You know what, man? You know what sucks the most about 2020? There's no fucking work. There's it's impossible to stay motivated to shed sometimes. And normally I'd be lamenting with you, and I can't even do that. So I can't
Right.
even lament,
But
commiserate.
but it's important though, because like it's important to stay positive, because in the wake of all this shit, it's forced me to kind of go back to square one and kind of strip all my shit down and start, kind of not from scratch really, but like kind of strip your shit down to the bare minimum, bare essentials, and try to work yourself back up. It's funny that you mentioned Apollo Creed, because it's like those Rocky training montages, in Rocky 4 when he's fighting Ivan Drago and he's in the Siberian wilderness, like, it's like that,
Yeah, man. I was talking to Rose Minkler a few weeks ago, and she was talking about how she's been shedding like Bach inventions for the first time in like a decade. And
man, I'm telling you,
same,
all
man.
it is for me is Arbin's book.
Yep.
That's it. Arbin's book.
Yeah, Arbin's, Clark, and Schlossberg. I've been hitting them harder than I
Took
have.
The words right out of my mouth.
Yeah, harder than I have in a decade, it seems. Maybe.
Yeah.
I think I've transcribed more this summer than I have the last 5 years, because it's like, you finally got the time for it, man. But
right.
But what I'm saying, Josh, is I miss the commiserating.
Yeah.
Because whenever I need to vent.
You mean like on a Tuesday night over about 15 PBR tall boys?
Right. That's what I'm talking about. How many,
after trying to make the changes on stablemates at like 350?
There's only one person that I've texted and, at like 3 PM and been like, man, beers tonight, I really just got a bitch about the horn. And you were the only one who can answer that call. And
hey man, we've had quite the commiseration sessions
we have
over the course of our friendship here.
I know. And
seriously,
it's good to see
bro,
your face.
I feel the same about you. Like, you're the only one that really understands like when I'm really going through the shit.
Yeah.
In terms of the horn and like musically and creatively and artistically, like you're really one of the only cats that I can just really be like real with, and
I know.
and you can actually relate and empathize and sympathize with me,
Yeah, I know, man. We're two peas in a pod for sure. It's funny. I did a virtual lesson with Eddie,
oh man,
like a month ago, and I told him, he was showing me some, because we were talking about language, and he showed me we got talking about Hub. And he showed me a lick that he copped from Freddie on Ole Coltrane, right?
Oh,
I thought that was it was super cool. And he got into his Scotch tape together, his talks.
Yeah.
And I told him that at the jam, you and I would just like belt out Eddie licks to each other. It was like signaling that the other one was in the room. And man, you should have seen the smile on his face, dude. I mean, it was just like I said to him, I was like, there's only one other cat who I could play this lick and they know exactly what I'm talking about. Or I play this lick and I hear from the peanut gallery the other half of that lick,
Yeah.
That's you, man. That's you.
Yep. That was, man. But it all comes from, the doc.
I know.
It all comes from the good doctor, man. That guy. Whew.
So I've talked about Eddie on the show a bunch, because how can I not? And, I was trying to keep in mind what, having you as a guest on the show, and like, what can we talk about? And so I feel like this is a culmination of like the last like 5 episodes, because I've mentioned Eddie almost every week since I started this podcast. And yeah, man, we're both students of Eddie Henderson, and we're like, brothers from another mister, I guess,
I tried to find my t-shirt. I don't know. I'll say it for the listeners, but Nick and I had some 2 matching t-shirts made up. So I couldn't find it. Maybe it's in the laundry, but I couldn't find it. But the other thing I was gonna say, Nick, was that when you mentioned Hub just now on the Ole sessions, Dr. Eddie told me a really funny story when he took Hub to the rehearsal for Ascension.
No way.
Ascension session, yeah. And so I think it was Ascension. I'm pretty sure. It was Ascension.
Well,
I could be.
he's taken Hub to a bunch of records, because he told me the other day that this lesson I'm talking about was the first time I knew that he drove Hub to the live record he did with Lee. What's that fucking? The Cookers. Night of the Cookers.
He was there at Club Marshall in Brooklyn.
Yeah, he told me that he brought Hub to the gig, and I had no idea, none at all.
You can hear him. You can hear him on the record.
Yes, he said that.
You can hear him shouting.
All the woos are him and shit. So now I got to go back and like listen to the crowd.
So he told me when he took Hub, the music was like, there was nothing written down, and it was kind of just really avant-garde, like kind of free jazz. And so he waited there for Hub. I guess for whatever reason, he wasn't allowed to go into the session. Maybe it was a closed rehearsal or something like that. But so he comes out and he said, Hub came out and he was like white as a ghost, and he had this like really blank expression on his face. And he gets in the car and he said, Hub, well, what do you guys play? Like, what? And Hub was like, well, I don't really know. And he said, well, what tunes did you play? Like, what did you do? Like, what? He's like, well, I don't really know. And then, the course of a year goes by or whatever, how long it took for the record to come out. The record came out, and Dr. Eddie put the record on, and he was like, oh, now I understand that blank expression that Hub had on his face when he got back in the car after the rehearsal.
Yeah. You know what's funny? Ascension, my favorite Coltrane record.
Man, that's a tough record to listen to. I've only really listened to it all the way through once with my good friend and great tenor saxophonist, Jovan Alexander.
Oh, nice.
One time we were on our way to New York for a gig. I think it might have been playing at Smalls or something like that. And I got in the car. He picked me up. I got in the car in New Haven. He was coming from Wallingford. And so I got in the car, and he just had started playing Ascension.
Nice.
And he looked at me, and he gave me this look like, are you game for this? Like, are you down? Are you ready? Because I'm just going to keep it on. And I was like 40 minutes. Yeah, let's go, man. We're riding into New York. Let's go. And let me tell you, man, that's like, it's not an easy listen. You have to be really, really invested into the process.
So I think one of the reasons why it's my favorite is because, unlike most challenging records, I actually came to Ascension kind of at a point where my ears were a little bit more mature. So like when I first heard, Bitches Brew or Sextant or Free Jazz or, Out to Lunch, those records, I was like, 18. So it was like, I think they're cool. Like they're cool because they're weird, right? Ascension was like, I heard Ascension when I was probably like 26.
In other words, you could understand it at that
point. I heard like, for anyone who's unfamiliar with Ascension, it's a lot of like free blowing, and then the
kind of
section sets up a vibe.
Kind of colors, like kind of Pablo Picasso.
Yes, or like a Jackson Pollock.
Jackson Pollock kind of.
Yeah, and what happens is they'll play like that for like 2 or 3 minutes, and then the rhythm section will set up either a mode or a vamp or something, and then there's like a groove going on, and then there's a soloist, and then they go back to the free blowing and that sort of thing. And I think it was rewarding because I heard it. I knew it was an out record, so I think I avoided it for a while. And I was able to hear the difference between the free parts and the modal parts. And in my ears, I heard the reoccurring themes. That was
right.
Like that, because when you don't, you might not catch it the first time, but there's like reoccurring themes in the track. And so, if you're not familiar, you might miss it. And so it was one of those records where it's like right age, right time, right, development, so I could appreciate it. And man, I love that record. And if I remember correctly, it says Ascension Edition 1 and Ascension Edition 2. And Edition 1 is what was pressed onto vinyl, but it was Edition 2 that Coltrane wanted for the master. So you got to listen to the CD version or like, streaming version. And it's like
I didn't know that.
Yeah, the second edition is like the one Coltrane wanted. The only reason why I know that is because I read that cat Ashley Kahn's book about the house that Train built.
Right.
Man, it's
About Impulse Records.
about
right?
Impulse, yeah. And I learned so much about, I probably read that book around the time I got into Ascension, because it was, because that book was like, oh, the reason why this like Albert Eiler album sounds like this is because XYZ. And you go into the record like, expecting some things or having things pointed out to you. So it gives you a little bit more grounded if you're not looking for it, which I do appreciate. I know people are like, oh, this album spoke to me and that's why I love it. And it's like, man, sometimes you queue up Albert Eiler and you don't know what you're about to get into. And you'll have this reaction to it. It's human.
Right. Yeah, of course, man. I think that's the beauty of what art and in this case music is all about. The freedom to let it speak to you in a way that might not resonate with somebody else, but it speaks to you in a certain way. Like what you said about the about Ascension, when you could pick out the themes.
Yeah.
It's funny that you say that, because for me, it was an album like In a Silent Way or like Bitches Brew that did that for me.
Sure.
Because all of that stuff was like it was after all of Miles's modal stuff, and he was still kind of doing that, but it was a lot of like kind of trance kind of colors and with a drone bass kind of thing. Sure. But then he would have his little themes that he would bring in, and everybody, all the musicians, like especially when you see the live concerts around that period, like when he plays like, sorry.
Oh, he's got the horn, ladies and gentlemen.
I'm sorry. When he goes, and the whole band stops on a dime, man, and they go into Directions or whatever it was.
Sanctuary,
one of those.
Yeah.
Man, it was like, man, that's a thing. Like that's a thing. You can have all of this freedom and a little bit of structure at the same time, and it's like, wow, the way that you kind of disguise the structure of it. Yeah, is really interesting to me.
Oh yeah, and it's just the fluidity of that stuff. We've talked about tons of times that third quintet he had, the one with Chick and Jack DeJohnette and Dave Holland. That 68 to was it 68 to 70 band basically.
Somewhere in there. Right.
Ooh, just like the fluidity of everything. Just like, it was all based on
some of those concerts on YouTube of that band, like the one in Berlin, I think. And there's another one of them in Italy, I believe.
There's one in France that's like in color.
Right. Yeah. I think, man, there's one in Germany, I think.
No, you're right. Berlin. You're right. Yeah, no, you're right. Because, is
that the one that's in color?
I want to say it's Saint
He's wearing
Soler
this
or something.
Patchwork kind of vest and a pink puffy shirt, like in that Seinfeld episode.
I think that's the Ronnie Scott concert you're talking about. But that's the same tour. So if I remember correctly, so like the thing is that Miles went to Europe in 69, 70, and 71. So there's like you get like consistent lineups, consistent set lists. And it's very easy to confuse which one's which, because there's a lot of them. The thing is, man, I always joke, you got to love state-run radio stations, because that's why we have all this live shit, that, especially with Miles. All this Miles shit coming out, all it is like, the Department of Radio Broadcasts in Paris are releasing the shit.
Like the WDR, German, Danish, French, like, thank God these European cats, man. Thank
Socialism,
God they love jazz. Thank God they love jazz more than Americans do. I'm telling you, bro. Like, thank fucking God that they love this.
They document it. They document, man. That was it French TV when Mondici plays for 30 minutes.
What about that concert with Hub and Michael Carvin and Junior Cook?
Yep.
in like 1970, and oh god,
yeah, they play all the Red Clay shit. Yep.
Woo!
I know, man.
Yeah.
And all that Dexter stuff, it's all because these countries,
Yep.
one, value culture, and two, you know, they would play a concert at, you know, the Olympic Theater in downtown, Paris,
Copenhagen or some
or
shit.
Copenhagen or Brussels or some shit, and then there would be, you know, the ticket holders. But then they would broadcast the concert over the radio, and there would be a state-run radio station, and that's who recorded it. And it's like,
absolutely,
you know, because of that, now we have it.
Televised it, you know. In a lot of cases, televised it, and now, thank God, we have some video that we can refer to.
I know, it's insane.
That stuff is really important too, because a lot of people ask me. I'm going to go back to some trumpet stuff now. So, like,
please
do. When we're doing our thing, like how Hub goes.
I love that you got the horn here, man. I didn't even think about it.
That utilizes and this is going back to Dr. Eddie too, because Dr. Eddie, one of the first things he asked me in our first lesson together was, do you know all your alternate fingerings? You know, and I was like, yeah, I think I do. You know, I had a pretty good idea, because at that point I had seen a video of Hub doing that. And so so E, you start in the open position, and then you can also play that same note with your third valve press down. So it's the same note, but it kind of sounds like articulated. So the use of the false fingerings and the alternate fingerings to produce that phrase, I wouldn't have been able to figure that out if I wasn't able to see a video of Hub doing that.
Yeah. I know what you're saying,
because he sounds so fluid with it. It's like, how is he doing that? And then you see his alternate fingerings. Oh, that's how he's doing that. You know what I mean?
It's the same with, like, I think I learned about alternate fingerings when I heard the Sidewinder solo, because it's the same concept. He plays a concert B flat.
On the C,
and so so our C is open. And you can also play it 2 and 3. It's a little bit sharper, and I remember being like in jazz band in high school and being like, what the hell is that? And luckily my teacher was a trumpet player. He goes, oh, he's just, you know, he showed me how to do it. And for like 2 weeks, that's all I did. Anytime I had a solo.
I was the same way. Yeah.
It's funny, you know, we keep talking about Hub. It's the 12th anniversary of his passing.
That is unbelievable.
I know. I feel like I should have a black strip. I should have a black strip on my arm here. You know,
seriously,
like in mourning. You know,
2008, right?
2000. I believe so. 2008. Definitely this day. I remember being really bummed out, and I don't know if I ever told you this story, but I ever tell you about the story how I missed going to see Hub, and it was way before we became friends. I was a freshman in college.
Yeah, I don't. Maybe you did, but please edify me.
Yeah, sure. So this is 2002. It was the first semester, because I remember just being friends with like my crew, you know, at school, and it was still it was still the pre-texting era of cell phones, and turns out my buddies just decided to go to the Iridium. And they couldn't find me. I didn't even have my phone turned on or something, like, because this is like, you know, some people have a hard time understanding this. There was a time where I had the phone, but I only turned it on when I needed to make a call, you know, and you know, I would occasionally check my voicemail once in a while, you know? So
that's all we could do with phones back in the day.
Right. I know.
All we could do was flip them open and turn them on and make a call, and then flip them closed.
I never had a flip phone. I always had the fucking brick, you know.
I had one of those before I had a flip phone. One of the Nokia ones.
Yeah, the most reliable phone I ever had was that Nokia one.
Yeah.
So you know, and I trust them. They're good buddies of mine. They said they looked all over the music department for me. They looked all over, you know, like a certain part of the campus. Oh, they checked the dorm. I must have been like out getting food or something, and they couldn't find me. So they left without me, right? And I didn't know this, and I just went about my day or whatever, my night and that stuff. And I was shedding that night. And they all come, you know, it was like 5 of them. They come back and I'm like, where have you guys been? And they go, we just saw Freddie Hubbard play, Freddie Hubbard's band. And bro,
Was it the New Jazz Composers Octet?
Probably, you know,
I think Steve Davis was probably playing in the band.
No shit. Well, we'll have to ask him about this particular gig because so anyway, I was about
to
get
he remembers it.
I must have looked emotional because my buddy Kenny put his hand on my shoulder and he goes, my man, it's best you didn't go. And I was like, no, I was like, fuck you guys. Like, how could you go see Freddie Hubbard without me? You know? And, you know, they told me the situation and then they said like they went and it was just not the Freddie that like I held in my heart. You know, he fired the piano player on the gig, like on the gig, fired the piano player, started playing piano
Davis or something like that.
I know it probably was or Danny Grissett or somebody. You
know? Xavier's like the nicest cat, man. But Xavier did play in that band.
Yeah. Well, whoever it was got fired, and then Freddie started playing piano, and he started to play piano and trumpet, and they were like, "You just would have been heartbroken."
Yeah, and he was probably playing a lot of flugelhorn around that time.
Yeah,
too.
And I remember at that point I was like, "Oh, okay, I missed this like shitty gig. I'll live with it." But then when he died, I was like, "Damn, man, I didn't even get to see a shitty gig of Freddie Hubbard's."
Well, I mean, I don't know if there's such thing as a shitty gig that Freddie Hubbard's playing,
quote unquote.
But, you know, I get what you mean. I get what you mean by that. But you know, a lot of times too, there's people that, man, it's like, can you imagine? Like, put yourself in his shoes. He had some surgery too on his neck to fuse a couple vertebrae in his neck. So he had nerve damage in his arms. Like,
oh, no way.
So if you see some videos now that come out that were filmed around that period, he's playing flugelhorn and like he'll shake his hand like that. Like, so imagine having all of these ideas, like, you know, Freddie, Freddie's stuff in his head and not being able to get it out of his horn. Like, that really, really, really must be some of the most frustrating stuff to experience.
The only thing that sounds similar is in Superman 2 when he loses his powers. You know that
right.
You know, like that's got to be the only thing comparable. Because I wish I got to see, you know, Freddie live, and you know, I mean, there's just so many. We've talked ad nauseum the different like styles, because like his later style is different than his earliest style, where he's trying to. And Eddie's told me, I'm sure you too, millions of times, where like Freddie was trying to play like Booker Little, so everything's very like straight, very like in the slots, you know. And then, you know, later Freddie, you get like where he's kind of displacing the rhythm a little bit more of a Disney style, you know.
Right.
It was Eddie was reminding me. I totally forgot about this, but Eddie was reminding me that Freddie was in Slide Hampton's octet with Booker Little.
Yep.
And that was the only. Oh, yeah. It was Eddie was telling me the only time he ever saw Freddie like so down that he wanted to give up.
Yep.
Was after a gig with that group. I guess Eddie went to a gig, saw that band play, saw Booker, and saw Hub, and like, like, you know, walking home together. Hub was just like, "No thanks, I'm done."
Yeah. I mean, the only two cats that Hub was ever scared of were Booker and Lee.
Yeah.
You know, Booker, man. I mean, what about that tune that Hub wrote, Lament for Booker?
Oh, yeah.
Hub tones. Like, of course, that just tells you the level of respect that Freddie had for a guy like Booker Little, who died way too young.
I know, man. I think about it because he was 23 when he died. I just turned 37, so it's like, shit. Imagine,
man. I'm 32 right now, and Lee was 30, gonna be 34th. He was 33 when he was, you know, taken out of here too soon.
I know.
It's funny, you know. Hub was the guy that emerged out of those guys.
Yeah.
Thank God he did. You know.
I know. I don't think I could imagine a world where, you know, Hub also died young. You know, can you imagine if like Hub died like in the 60s?
But the thing about those early Hub recordings is he also, man, he sounded like Donald Byrd and Booker Little.
Yeah.
He sounded so much like Donald Byrd, like his phrases were so long.
Yeah.
You know, he kind of sounded also, you know, Hub was studying with Train, and you know, he was hanging out at Train's house, and he was hanging out with Sonny Rollins. So also he got a lot of that angular kind of stuff from Nuke. Like if you listen to Hub's phrasing, it sounds a lot like Sonny Rollins to me.
Okay.
But when his phrases are long like that on those early recordings, like Hub Tones and like Hubcap and those recordings, he kind of sounds like Donald Byrd to me.
You're right. He does. He does. It's you definitely hear.
But the complexity is definitely from Booker Little. Like the complexity of his lines is totally like Booker Little, because Booker was so classically accomplished. Yeah. You know, on the horn, he could just take the horn and make it, you know, do whatever he wanted it to.
Oh yeah, yeah. I mean, that's why I love Donald Byrd so much, is because I hear it's basically like the you know, there's like that school of playing, right? And it's like it's rooted in Clifford Brown, Donald Byrd, Freddie Hubbard, you know, and then like you've got offshoots of Booker and you know, Lee Morgan, especially like early Lee Morgan versus later Lee Morgan. You definitely have these like intertwining styles that all sound like you could find the common denominator. You know what I mean?
You definitely can, but the thing about Donald Byrd is all of those guys are coming out of the same school, like, you know, that Clifford Brown, you know, Fats Navarro, all of that, you know, they're coming from Byrd and the pre-bop kind of saxophonists. Like that, really, you know, they're trying to play that on the trumpet, which is very hard to do, obviously. Yeah. But the thing about the thing that Donald Byrd did was he didn't, and I don't want to say this the wrong way, but he didn't have the technique that like Clifford Brown and those guys did. So like from, you know, low C to high C, man, DB was it. Yeah. But like all of that other stuff, which is all of that stuff that those guys could do, Clifford Brown and Fats Navarro could play in the stratosphere and just make it sound effortless. And all those guys, Booker, all of those guys were so effortless when it came to technique. The thing that endears Donald Byrd to me is that sometimes, honestly, it sounds like he's struggling a little bit. Yeah. And I love that about him.
I know exactly what you're talking about. It's exactly why I love one of my and I've told you this, one of my favorite moments in Freddie Hubbard's recorded history is when he fucks up Witch Hunt, you know, on Wayne Shorter, because he misses that high F. D flat. D flat. Yeah. So it's like something like that. It's like a screeching note, and on the out, I believe it's the head out is when he fucks it up, and
which is understandable because his chops are probably tired as hell.
Right. It's probably like the 30th take. And you know,
right.
And you know, Alfred Lion was like, I don't give a shit. That one's the one that sounds the best.
Can we do one more? Yeah. Can we do one more?
Yeah. And Wayne was probably very pleased with his solo. And Hub's solo is fantastic. It's just he fucking takes a sledgehammer to that fucking note and just fucks it up. And you're like, no, man, I appreciate that. It's like listening to Miles of the Plug Nickel, because he wasn't in the best of shape. You know,
or, you know, those recordings of Lee in like 67 when he was coming back from, you know, he had his teeth knocked out, basically. Right. He had some like shoddy wiring to wire his teeth together that he left in there for like 3 years. Yeah. Because he didn't go see a dentist. He could barely play his horn, but god damn, that motherfucker sounded so good.
Oh, I know.
But it was like, you know, God, it sounded. Well, I mean, like that's the thing about Donald. Like all the ideas are so there, and like the ideas are unbelievable, but the spirit is willing, but the flesh can be weak at times. Yeah. You dig what I mean? Like,
but I dig it,
man. The horn is unforgiving.
I dig it though. I love it. I love that I can hear how human he is.
That's what makes me love those guys.
Yeah.
You know, because it sounds like, oh man, I'm not the only one struggling with the horn.
Exactly. And you know, it makes me appreciate them more, you know, when I hear when I hear the struggle, because man,
it makes you human.
Yeah, you listen to some of it, like, man, listen to like Winton, especially like that early Winton where he's playing standards and everything
Can't do it.
sounds
It's too perfect. I
exactly.
can't relate to it. I'm not
I
like
can't.
that. I'm not that
That's
kind
why,
of trumpet player.
man. That's why I've never gotten into Arturo Sandoval.
I
To
mean,
be
I
honest with you.
appreciate all those
Exactly.
guys. That,
I
don't get me
appreciate
wrong.
them.
I wish I could do that stuff, but it just
No
doesn't speak
doubt.
to me like on an artistic level.
Right. It's no doubt. Like I've said on the show numerous times, because sometimes people will hesitate to say their favorites, and I always say, saying you love one person's style of playing does not mean that that you hate the other person's style.
Absolutely, absolutely. And so, all of that stuff that Arturo and Winton do is extremely impressive, and
I'll tell you, man.
Of course, it's virtuosic and all of that. It just doesn't really like speak to my soul too much.
For sure.
I mean?
Another cat, and you probably, I'm sure you'll disagree with me on this. I can't. After a while, I can't enjoy Clark Terry. I can't, because his playing is so. What we're talking about. It's so perfect. It's just, I can't. After a while, I just need to turn it off. It's like I'll listen to one track at a time of Clark, and it's just like, okay, that's all.
I guess I understand. Like I never really. He was one of my first favorites. I heard him like on that record with Roy Eldridge and Dizzy and Clark with Oscar Peterson's trio.
Oh yeah, I know that. Yeah,
one of the live ones at Montreux.
Yeah,
and Clark played. The first track was a blues, I think, and Clark played with a harmon mute. And man, it was like, it was so. To me, it was perfect in a different way than So I hear what you're saying about it being perfect, but it was perfect to me in a different way, to where like Clark can make the horn sound like it's a human voice. And all of the flexibility in his chops is like, all of that shit is, man, come on. He ain't never study any of that shit. He just played what he heard. Sure. And yes, it was perfect, but it was perfect in a different way, to where, Winton, studied his Arben's book and all of that, which is what we all do. And I'm not saying that Clark Terry didn't do that. I'm just saying that Clark's virtuosity was, I don't know, a little more honest, maybe. A little more rooted in your soul, and like where he was coming from as an artist, rather than like as a perfectionist or as a. What I mean?
I think that's it. I think it's more of a combination of the talent and the creativity, because some of all the like chops only shit only impresses me so much when it's like I always say the most extreme of that is Alan Vizzuti, because he's like a perfect trumpet player, but I've never dug a thing he's done. It's cool to listen to him triple tongue
play and turn the horn upside down and keep playing.
That's cool,
super impressive, and I really like it.
But
why would you ever need to do that?
Right. Well, that's what I'm saying. It's like, that's cool, but have you ever heard So What? You know what I mean? It's.
But then you could make the argument like, if you drive a Ford Fiesta, then you might say, why do you ever need to go 200 miles an hour? But then the guy that owns a Ferrari is like, well, this is why. You know what I mean? Like,
good point. So, good point. I just what did I just forget? I only saw Clark Terry once.
I saw him once too.
2003, I think. It was, what was that? IAJE or something. There was like an organization,
International Association of Jazz Educators.
That's what it was. And it's dissolved now.
It became something else. It's something else now.
Okay. I think the recession like fucked it up, right? Like it was something like that. Like
something about the 2008 thing messed it up. I think they had some money invested somewhere and they lost it. But it became something else. It is still an organization. I forget. I'll probably think about it when I hang up with you.
Yeah, of course. He was in a wheelchair at that point, and he played from the wheelchair, flugelhorn, and man, it was pretty. And it was the same night they had Jimmy Smith play after him. I'll never forget that. Yeah, so Jimmy Smith after that. Yeah, man. He just looked like a when when you're when like an old guy, like I think of my dad, like when my dad is like channel surfing and he comes across like some Western he loves or something, and
Yeah,
he
yeah.
just gets this specific smile on his face, and he like
Right.
leans back. That's what Jimmy Smith looked like playing the organ at that point in his life. He's just like,
That's,
check out this line right here, and he was just like smiling. He was just like pleased with himself and where he
of
was and what
course.
he was doing.
That's how he made all his. I mean, that was his thing.
Yeah,
He was one of the most famous guys in America for a second. When he had that Walk on the Wild Side record come out,
yeah.
he had and his manager was like shoot. The guy from CBS Records, like the big
Clive Davis?
No, before him. He was like shoot. God damn.
That's what this show's about, man. Forgetting stuff you know all the time. Yeah.
Yeah.
You know how many times
right.
I have to like pause what I'm talking about so I can Google it. Like on my phone.
Yeah, I'll think of it.
Okay.
Later, but
Yeah,
yeah, man. That was
problem.
his thing, like playing the organ with his nose and all of that.
Yeah.
You know, holding notes and playing the organ with his nose. That was all part of his shtick.
Yeah.
Walk on the Wild Side. Like, he was a crazy guy, man. I heard stories from Ed Cherry that you would not believe about Jimmy Smith.
I want to get Ed on the show. I'm trying to get all the Connecticut cats on the show.
Oh, man, you got to have Brother Cherry on.
I'm going to try.
That cat is so unbelievably great, and he's got all the stories about Dizzy. He played in Dizzy's band for years. Yeah. He played with Jimmy Smith. He played with everybody, man. He's got so many great stories.
No doubt. I know. I gotta reach out to him. I had Brian Charette on. I want to get DeRubo on.
Brian,
I want to get Escafri on. I want to get.
Gotta get Rubes on.
Yeah. Yeah. I was just.
He grew up on Nickel Street.
Where in New Haven?
Over near Modern Pizza.
Yeah. Oh, I didn't know that.
Yep.
Oh, dope. Yeah, I want to get all those guys on so I could get the Connecticut rooted crew on first. That's the goal.
You got to get Wayno and those guys. Wayne Stopper, Desron.
Yep. Oh yeah. Let's talk. Let's go back to Eddie because we were talking about him before. And what do you love about his playing? First off, because I talk about him all the time. What do you love about his playing the most?
Oh man, the most.
It could be the top 5. It could be top 5 things I love about his playing.
I really love. I just really love how honest he is, because you can hear all of his influences. Obviously, you know, you can hear where he's coming from, but you can't help but hear him. You know, he might play something that Miles played or something that Lee played, but you can always tell it's Eddie playing it.
Yeah, that's what I always say.
And that comes from sitting down with Miles Davis at the kitchen table when he's like, 14 years old.
Yeah.
In San Francisco before the freaking Blackhawk. You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah.
Like, you can't watch that out of a person like that. I mean, imagine if you came into contact with somebody who changed the face of the world like that. You can't help but be influenced by them.
No doubt.
But it comes out in such a personal way, like, especially when you talk to him. You know, he's such a jokester, and he's such a lighthearted, funny guy. You can totally tell he's got this really lighthearted way about him. But when you listen to him play a ballad, when you listen to him play Portrait of Jenny, man, that shit will bring you to fucking tears.
Yeah.
Instantly. Da da. Just right there. I'm in tears.
Yeah.
I'm in tears.
I'm already verklempt.
Oh, I'm not exaggerating.
No, I know you're not, man. We have talked about this ad nauseum, but I feel like I just need to spread the news.
Yeah. Oh, obviously.
Definitely. I've got a platform now at this show, and I could just talk about Eddie all I want.
The man is 80 years old.
I know.
He deserves to be spoken about, and he deserves recognition. Not that he doesn't get it, but he can always get more and deserve more. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and you're absolutely right. He's one of those guys where I shouldn't say one of those guys because he's so genuine about it. It's like he sounds so much like Miles. He sounds so much like Lee. He sounds so much like Hub and Woody Shaw. But then again, he doesn't. You know what I mean? It's like you hear a lot of Miles in his playing, but you don't.
Man, I'll tell you, the first time I ever heard him, and I didn't know about him at all, was that first M114 record.
Yeah.
And I thought it was maybe either Hub or Woody, but it didn't really sound like them either.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I was like, man, who is this cat? Because I was a huge Herbie Hancock fan.
Sure, me too.
So I got that, that first track. I
played that on my senior recital.
Man, that's it. And hearing Dr. Eddie on that was like, and also with all the production value, like all the reverb and the echoplexes and all of that shit made it even more mysterious to me. And made me want to investigate it even more. So when I opened up the book too, and I wanted to find out who this guy was, and all of their names were like in Swahili.
Yeah.
And I was like, wait, what the fuck is this? Like, who is this?
Right.
What?
Yeah, yeah.
Like, wow. Oh, and then in parentheses, Eddie Henderson. Oh man. And so I had to go research what that was all about. And like, why did they take Swahili names, and like, what did their Swahili names mean?
Yeah.
Maganga, that's doctor, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
What was the meaning behind all of this stuff? It made me curious. Like his playing made me curious about stuff, like about the music and about where it was coming from.
Mm-hmm.
It kind of taught me to be honest and like, this guy is trying to tell me something.
Yeah.
He's got something to say. I might have to go investigate and research it, but he's got something to say and I'm interested. That's what I like about his playing the most.
Yeah, I mean, same. It's the genuine nature of his playing. It's the original man, and I just love that he's a cat who clearly wasn't afraid to sound like himself. You can, and he'll talk to you about trying to play this Woody lick or this Hub lick, but it's kind of the thing is about Eddie is nobody sounds like him. So that's like the first reason why I want everyone to know about who he is. But I also get the same vibe that I get, like what we said about Donald Byrd. It's like he doesn't quite have the same chops. I'm using air quotes here as like Woody Shaw. So a Woody Shaw lick doesn't come out the same when Eddie plays it. You know what I mean? It's like, but he's not afraid to put 2 feet into it and push off. You know what I mean? It's but he's not worried about not sounding exactly like his influence.
But what you said before when you said he's what did you say? he's not afraid to sound like himself.
Yeah.
He's also not afraid to tell you and me that it took him a long fucking time to figure out who himself sounded like.
Yeah.
Because I'm sure he's told you the story about the Miles when Miles would come to San Francisco and come to visit his stepfather and stuff. And so he heard Sketches of Spain and, he learned all the record and Miles was like, that's good. Yeah. He played the whole record. And he said, that's good, but that's me. And then the next time he came back, he learned all of Miles's solo. And he comes back, he's like, that's good, but that's still me. And Dr. Eddie said, well, no, you mean Freddie Webster?
Yep.
And Miles said, oh shit, I didn't know you was hip to that cat. You know what I mean?
Yep.
Like Eddie knew, Eddie understood the value of making short-term loans.
Yep.
And taping phrases together, Scotch taping phrases together to make your own mosaic, if you will, of different cats that you like.
That's right.
That's the other thing about Eddie. He's got this wonderful quilt of influences.
Yeah.
That's a good analogy. That you just want to wrap yourself in and warm yourself by the fire in.
Yeah.
That's Eddie.
Oh, for sure. I'm on board with everything you're saying, man. Yeah, it's Man, I feel like I'm just talking in circles. He sounds like so many people, and he also sounds nothing like them because he sounds like himself, and it's just
Right.
incredible, man. And you know, and anytime I can bring him up, I will. You
Oh,
know, I
I
mean, how
can't
many times
help
have we
but
talked
bring the
about him? You
man
know,
up.
yeah, exactly. You just reminded me my Eddie T-shirt. So back to that real quick. We had T-shirts made of Eddie off of one of his albums. We were
Be cool,
supposed to
right? The
be
Be Cool
cool.
one.
We were
Yeah.
supposed to go. Fucking COVID, dude. We were supposed to go see Eddie at Smoke, and we were gonna go together and wear these T-shirts, and
Yes.
hopefully not get thrown out of the club for making a.
No, no, no.
No,
Just as
I
long as
know,
I was there, we wasn't gonna get thrown out. I got some connections. You dig?
Okay, I had to hide my Eddie T-shirt because of my puppy because she started rip. Yeah, so I
Yeah.
think I only have a one sleeve shirt
Just
now,
put all
but
your stuff up high.
I learned.
Put
I
it
gotta
up high.
find it. It's somewhere. It's
No
hidden.
shoes. No
You know.
shoes on the ground. All of
Yep.
that. I
I
get it.
know. I know. Tell me. I asked you before the show. What are some of your favorite Eddie tracks? Lay 'em on me.
Oh man. I have one of my favorites of all time is the record. Now I'm blanking on the name of the record. They play that George Cable's tune, "Think on Me."
Oh, I think it's like Think On. I think it is Think On
I
Me.
think, yeah, okay. The record is called "Think on Me." It's on Steeplechase.
Yeah.
Man, his flugelhorn sound, his flugelhorn work.
Yeah. Think On Me.
Is that Joe Locke on
Yeah. That's so,
vibraphone?
yeah. So Kenny Barron, Wayne Dockery,
Yeah.
Billy Hart, Joe Locke.
Yep.
Yeah,
Okay.
Steeplechase, 1990. Woo!
Yeah.
He's
God, man,
got his
that
wig on.
is that whole. Yeah, yeah. The wig. Oh
Yeah.
man, I
And
love it.
it's
Love
not
it.
uncool to make wig jokes because he makes wig jokes.
See,
So
that's why it's cool, man. See, that's the other thing about Dr. Eddie, man, that makes him so. He's just such an honest cat. He told me he said he came up to the 880. He came up to the 880 in Hartford and played. This was what propelled him to stop wearing the wig. He said he was in a hurry leaving the house and he couldn't put as much like adhesive on as he wanted to, and so he got up to the 880. He got to the gig. He was like in a hurry, so he starts playing. And like it was hot inside, so he starts sweating, and the wig like starts coming down, falling on his head like over his eyes and shit. And so finally at the end, he is just like, at the end of the set, he was like, all right, I'm done with this shit. He went in the bathroom and took the shit off. He's like, fuck it, I'm done.
wow.
Y'all can make fun of me all you want, but I'm acknowledging this shit right now. I'm done
Yeah.
with this motherfucker.
Yeah. It's funny, man,
I
because
love it.
the first picture I saw of Eddie, this was years before I saw him. It was with the Wandishi band, and he had his real hair.
Yeah,
So when I
his
met
afro.
Eddie, yeah, well
Or
the wig was like the fro. This was like pre-fro a little bit.
no, the wig was like one of those little kind of Jerry curl
Yeah,
jobs,
it
like
was
in
Jerry
the
Curl-esque. Yeah, you're
80s.
right. Yeah, you're right. You're
Because
right.
there was some of those records that he made in the 70s where he got his afro.
Yeah, that's his.
I
That's not a
thought
wig.
no.
Okay. Because this Wandishi picture, you could tell he's on the south end of his hair.
He might be, but that's still his real hair. I'm pretty
Okay.
sure.
Pretty
Sure.
I didn't know it was him because I didn't because he had the hair. I didn't even know it
Right.
was him. I was just like, I just thought it was somebody else, you know?
Well, man, when it's interesting to note that when he got the wig, it kind of resembled to me when after Lee had his accident with the radiator.
Yeah.
And had to start combing his hair forward.
Yep.
And like wear that little Caesar kind of haircut.
Yeah.
It kind of, Eddie's wig kind of resembled that.
Yeah, a little bit. Little Jerry
And
Curl, a little bit of that.
I
Yeah.
always found that kind of interesting. Like, oh man, I wonder if he did that on purpose or if it was subconscious, because he was so close to Lee. He was spending so much time around Lee around that time,
Yeah. I don't know. I don't know, but it's definitely a time period in his life, and his steeplechase records definitely have the afro. Wait, what? Oh, you were saying "Think on Me"? Yeah,
Think on Me.
Is that's a George Cable's tune, right?
That's a George Cable's tune. Yep.
Yeah.
That's a beautiful tune that I think rumor has it Freddie might have stolen the idea of for Skydive from George Cable's on that tune. Think
No
on
shit.
Me. If you listen to it, if you play them back to back, they're extremely similar.
Oh, I'm gonna cue that up after this. I'll have
Yeah.
to. Yeah, I could kind of hear it, but
Yeah.
now I'm curious. One of my
Oh man, you're gonna die. I'm telling you.
So I wanted to pick some deep cuts because I figured we would pick the same tunes. So one of my favorite, I'm going to start off. One of my favorites of Eddie's is on the Kenny Barron Live at Fat Tuesdays record. You know that word?
Oh God.
There's no greater love.
Man.
Shit, man.
Masterpiece.
One of my favorite standards to play. And there's nothing like to anyone who doesn't know this this particular recording, there's nothing different, nothing quote unquote special. It's just they play the standard, little piano
no
intro.
Arrangement, no
right. No, yeah,
no
there's
arrangement,
no there's it's
just,
not
just
it's in 4/4. Yeah, it's in 4/4. It's no different than how any of us have ever approached the tune.
It was probably like they just got on the bandstand and said, well, okay, well, what do you want to play? And
what do you want to warm up on?
One too many person said, well, I don't know. And then somebody just started playing something. I'm positive.
Yep. Yeah, it was probably that, or like we're gonna warm up on something everybody knows. What do we all know?
Exactly. Yep.
And Eddie's again, back to Eddie's approach to playing the horn and his phrasing and approaching a standard. Man, that is it. Like, it's so, you hear the Hub, you hear the Shaw, you hear the Miles, but man, is it not Eddie Henderson?
It totally is, man. And it comes from, part of it to me comes from the way that Miles would make a standard his own. I think the fact that Eddie sounds like Miles is not that Eddie is trying consciously to sound like Miles. He's trying to play the tune his own way, like Miles would do. Yeah. If that makes any sense.
No, it is.
You know what I mean? Like Miles would forever change a tune.
Yeah.
Just the way he played it.
Yeah.
And and Dr. Eddie tries to do the same thing.
Yeah, no doubt.
And succeeds in my book. He doesn't try, he does.
Yeah. Right. I think I told you this before. It's like if I'm learning a standard and there's a Dexter Gordon version of said standard, that will be the first version I try to emulate, because Dexter so often sticks very close to melody. Right. It's like, oh, you want to learn You Stepped Out of a Dream? I would say learn Dexter. Right, because you're basically playing like the most accurate, right, with little embellishment,
I always try to go back to a singer.
Well, there's that too. Yeah.
Because even Dexter to me embellishes a little bit much for my liking sometimes when I'm first trying to learn a tune.
Sure.
But other than that,
No, you're right. The vocalist version would be perfect.
Like either Nat King Cole or Sinatra or somebody that sings the melody. Billie Holiday sings
right.
the melody,
I'm just thinking about when I first heard the tune Dream Dancing, I checked out Ella's version. Because I had heard Pelt play it, and I was like, I don't know this tune, and I try to find so you're right, it's man, I mean, we could spend a whole hour talking about that stuff.
Right.
Another, give me another. What's another one you like?
Let me see here. Well, I already mentioned my M1 There's a it's a recent record, I guess. I'm gonna do this one. One of my good friend Steve Davis's records that he made. It was a tribute to J.J. Johnson, and there's a tune on there called Pinnacles. Yeah. And Dr. Eddie's on that, and boy, does he really. And he was like, I think he was maybe 76.
Yeah, it's not. It's
77 at the time. Maybe
it's like 5 years back.
Unbelievable how great he sounds.
Yeah,
he sounds like a young kid, man.
Yeah, the record you talk about, Say When.
Say when. Say when.
I
Yes.
love that record. Love that record.
Yes.
He sounds so good. If memory serves me right, he plays on what is this thing called Love on
Oh,
the record. And Eddie,
unbelievable.
yeah. I
Great.
mean, you know,
Great.
killing solos around, but you know, I always, you know, don't tell Steve, but I fast
What
forward
a,
Eddie solo first. Then I
what
go
about
back.
what about that record, the red record with him on the cover where he plays Jitterbug Waltz?
Oh, for all we know, the one with
Man,
Schofield on it.
yes.
Yeah. So
That's one of my favorites. That whole record, it's
yeah.
hard to pick one tune off of that thing.
So get this. For the longest time, if my house, you know, knock on wood, if my house was on fire, and I'm getting the dog and the cat and the wife, and we're getting out of here, and I run in for that one thing, right? That one thing. Let's say my horn's out of the house.
Yeah, right.
I would grab Lee Morgan's last album because I have it on CD. It's all in Japanese. And,
Yep.
and until this past fall or summer, it was not available online. You couldn't buy it. You couldn't. Not,
Yep.
So I got it, you know.
The last session, right?
Yeah, I got it at Rocket Scientist down at St. Mark's, which doesn't exist anymore. And that was my most coveted recording because it was the only one I ever found on CD. I have it on vinyl, but it's like beat up. You know, it's just like they didn't make a lot of copies of it. And that is now available online. So therefore, it's lost its place. Sorry, Lee, but I can get a replacement. So now the number one is Eddie Henderson's For All We Know because I can't find it anywhere. And I bought my copy. I got my copy from him at Smoke. So there's no way, you know what I mean? It's like, I don't think I could get it if I wanted to. Furthermore, recordings it's on.
Right.
You know?
I mean,
and the band is SCO, Doug Weiss on bass, and I think Billy Drummond.
I believe
if I remember correctly.
Yep.
And yeah, all the tunes on there. I love that tune Popo, the one he wrote for his wife. Ooh,
unbelievable.
So good. Yeah, so good.
I think didn't Natsuko write a tune on there?
She usually writes a tune that gets on the record. So I forget her name unfortunately, but his daughter's been putting tunes on it. So his latest record and the one before it, his daughter contributed to
right. What her name begins with an A, I think, right?
Or I or something.
I forget her name. Yeah. Yes.
But also, so that's been recent, but yeah, I think Natsuko has contributed a tune per album since the one that had all the tunes in 3.
What was the record with her and him on the cover where
Inspirations.
Inspirations.
That's like, I don't know if I don't know if she wrote any tunes on that one because that one is like all Herbie tunes, all McCoy tunes, Hub tunes. So I don't think she wrote anything on that. And so the first one that came out when I met Eddie was the Miles tribute one. Starting from there is Time and Spaces, and I can't think of the one that's in 3/4. And
I know the one you're talking about too. I can't remember the name of it.
So all those after, you know, had a tune of hers.
Right.
She writes great tunes.
She really does, and she is such a sweetheart. For the people who don't know, she's such a great person.
She is a great lady. Yeah. So I bought, this is a Christmas present for myself, but this Bill Barron, Higher Ground. I got this.
Love Bill Barron.
So
Kenny Barron's brother.
Yeah, Eddie, Kenny Barron, Rufus Reed, and Ben Riley. And the first track is called Caravan.
Woo!
Yeah. I got so excited to hear Eddie play on Caravan. So that is a new favorite track of mine because what a fucking treat.
Can you like cue that up or
I will something? I'm gonna rip it on my computer and I'll Dropbox you a copy of it because this is a great heard album. Yeah. Great album. Well, I'm trying to complete the complete the collection, the Eddie collection. Because there's some deep cut shit that he made in the 80s and 90s that it's hard to find, you know?
Yep. And that we haven't touched upon enough either, to like his prolificness, if that's not a word. right? Is that
It
a
is right
word?
now. It's my show. It's a word.
It is.
I
Okay,
get to say
so
it.
it's a
Yeah.
word.
Yeah.
His prolificness as a sideman and a contributor to other great people's records who, you know, that he's been associated with,
Yeah.
over the years. He's been on so many people's records, and he just elevates everybody's music, to the nth degree.
Oh, I know. I mean,
You know.
he's just incredible. Another one. So recently departed, Stanley Cowell,
Yep. Yep.
R.I.P. Eddie was on one of his records, and it's called The Setup. And
Yep.
my favorite track off that record is Carnegie 6.
Ooh.
That's a steeplechase. Steeplechase, it's a steeplechase record.
Stanley
You know,
Cowell, right? Yeah.
I mean, we're talking. Who's on this record? It's like some '90s cat. Well, it's a hodgepodge of guys. I know Rick Margitza's on it.
I haven't listened to that in ages.
He's like a '90s cat. Dick Griffin from the Sun Ra Band.
Yep.
Yep. Peter Washington and Billy Hart. Oof, this is 1994, man. Such a good album.
Those steeplechase records back in the 90s and early 2000s, mid 2000s, 80s.
Yeah.
It was tough
too.
to compete. It was Crisscross, all of those records from the same time, man. All of those.
Oh yeah.
Tough to compete with those records. Like people say that jazz died and shit. I don't know. There was some pretty goddamn good jazz coming out in those years.
Dude, like I want to get as many steeplechase and crisscross records as I can as I build my collection here. And man, there's too much, dude. And you know what's fun? I mean this, it's fun. Crisscross doesn't put they do it like 50% of the time. Say you had 10 records on Crisscross. Josh Bruneau's Crisscross catalog, right?
Right.
You will only put online. They will only put 50% of them under your name. So if I search Josh Bruneau, they're only your first 5, right. and then you go, well, where are the others? And of course my favorite is one that's not listed. What they will do is they will put it under like various artists, or they will list everybody on as the artist. So I am constantly finding newer Crisscross recordings of Jim Rotundi or Steve Davis or Don Braden or some shit. It's like, holy shit, there's always another record I've never heard.
Those records, man, Jerry Teakins were doing back in the day they were really churning them out, and there was some really great records back in the day. Those early 90s, 2000s records for Crisscross and Steeplechase, man. Crisscross, those guys were prolific in those years.
Oh yeah,
there's a lot of great records. It's like
I would say thousands.
Trove. Yeah.
Gotta be
easily
because you got guys who are maybe like 20 years our senior, so like they were at a very formidable age when the record came out.
Exactly. But you've got guys like Kenny Washington and Peter Washington were, they had just come off of big gigs. Like Peter Washington was coming off of playing with Art Blakey, and still playing with Art Blakey a little bit, and he was beginning to get his momentum, and those guys were working a lot.
You get the first wave of I call it the first wave of covers. So like you get a Wayne Shorter tune or a Hub or some Blue. You get some Blue Note. I don't call them
new standard.
I call them Blue Note standards. So it's like One Finger Snap is a Blue Note standard. It's not a standard.
Of course.
It's only in the Blue Note category. But you know what I'm talking about. It's like that's when you start getting, you grab
just like Moment's Notice or something like that.
Yeah, Moment's Notice is one of those, Lazy Bird, that sort of thing.
Right.
Watermelon Man is, I'm thinking of stuff like that. Anything by the Blue Note Cats. And so you'll get, you grab a Crisscross or Steeplechase record, and you've got 10 tracks, and 3 of them are originals. 3 of them are, Great American Songbook tunes. And then the other 4 are like Blue Note standards. You get to hear Ping Pong or or something like Cantaloupe Island or some shit like that.
On Steve's one of Steve's Crisscross records, he did which one is it? I think it might be Update. One of the first tracks is
Oh shit, yeah.
Marie Antoinette, right?
Yes, and
You know,
I think that is that the one with Roy?
yeah, that's the one with Roy. Roy's not
It
on
is
that
the one
track.
with
I think it's him and Peter Bernstein on that track.
yes.
But
So that's my favorite Steve
man, that's a
album.
great record. They play Bird Lives, him and Roy.
Yep, Grove's Groove,
Grove's Groove,
the
yeah,
Maze.
yeah.
Yep, they play them. Yeah,
The Maze, right.
you know, just unbelievable. Unbelievable
Man, we
lineups.
got to do like another one like this. Just talk about like crisscross records from like 90 to 2000.
Oh, for sure. Believe me, there's plenty of time.
Oh,
Might I add, because you're a dear friend of mine. I mean this. I'm not blowing smoke up your ass. This is also one of my favorite Steve Davis records.
oh man,
Steve Davis, Get It Done. No, man.
shit.
Featuring my
That
bro
was
here.
man.
Featuring my
I
brother
was
here
so
on trumpet.
scared. I was so scared. I was 23 years old, and the piano player on that date was Larry Willis, Uncle Larry.
Man, you sound
Man,
great.
I was scared.
I'm always inspired when I hear you play on that record. Seriously, because
man,
I'm just like,
thank
shit,
you.
man.
Thank you, man.
Yeah, for real, man. I get so far at this point in my career, I feel like I've walked with giants. And I think of you like that, man.
Wow,
It's so fun. It's so fun to watch you work and see you up there, you'll give me a call and be like, oh shit, I got a gig with so and so, man. What am I gonna do?
yeah.
And I'm usually like, better than you than me, motherfucker.
You're the first guy, man.
Yeah.
You're the first guy I call. Like, oh shit, I got a gig with Kenny Washington. Me and Eric Alexander. What the fuck am I gonna do? You're like, better you than me.
Yep. Yeah.
Man, I really feel the same about you, Nick. And I can't say enough great things about all of your recordings as well.
Oh,
like
thanks,
I know
man.
you have a new one. I know you have a new one out, right? Or relatively new, right? With your Electric
relatively.
Man?
Yeah, relatively new. Like late
Couple
2019. Well, the thing is it came out in late 2019, so I would have been pushing it this year.
Exactly. Right. Right.
So it's like womp womp. So it's like our buddy Tony Davis. Didn't he drop like his debut record like in February?
I believe
Poor
so.
guy.
Yeah, I remember when he recorded it. I was out in San Francisco with Fowler.
Wow.
And he did it. And man, yeah, that's a shame. But all we got to do is just keep it positive, and this is it's gonna come back. It's gonna be different. It's gonna be different, but we're gonna get back to some
we will.
semblance of being able to share our art.
People didn't think we'd bounce back after 08. And things. I think people just can be smarter. Hopefully,
man. People don't realize that musicians like you and me, we're like cockroaches.
Yeah,
there could be a nuclear holocaust, and we're gonna be around like, hey, man,
step on one.
You want to play Moment's Notice?
Yeah. There's no getting us away. I lost you, but are you still there? I lost your video, but I think I could still hear you. Oh, there you
go. Sorry.
Okay.
Sorry, my brother-in-law was calling me.
That's okay. That's all right. But yeah, I've been doing a lot of writing, so I'm hoping to hit 21 running.
I have been too.
Good.
Too.
Yeah, good.
Man, hang on. I'm not gonna pause you here. I'm sorry.
That's it.
No, I've been doing a lot of writing too. Some different styles of not the conventional.
There you go.
Thing that you might expect from a gentleman of my ilk, but
I want to hear it.
Man, I just got to get some more material together. I've got like bits and pieces, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Of stuff.
Yeah. I just, with my, I do the electric stuff, but and then like when it comes to the acoustic stuff, it's like, how can I write tunes that sound like Herbie's? That's like what, that's like, you know what I mean? Like I just listen to Herbie. I try to copy Herbie. If you listen to my acoustic stuff, you instantly go, oh, this cat likes Miles, Herbie, and Hub. It's very obvious, and I'm fine with it.
Man, I'm kind of in a I'm kind of in a similar mindset, but in a different way.
How
Like
so?
Herbie. So that's funny that you're bringing Herbie up. Herbie's a good example because I'm trying to. It's hard to express it in words, to be honest with you, because it's not that I've kind of gotten I know I'm not saying shit right now.
No, you're right, man. Let it roll.
I've gotten a little fed up. I've gotten a little fed up with my own creativity, and like I've gotten a little fed up with my own, like, kind of sitting in some staleness in terms of like my artistry and stuff like that. So I'm just trying to draw from some different sources and some different get some inspiration from some new places, you know. So and that to me is like Herbie and Miles and all of those guys are such a great example. Hub, you know, of, you know, kind of using, it's kind of cliche to talk about now, but like using electronic instruments and, you know, all of that, that's archaic now compared to what we have to draw from.
Yeah. All right, last Josh for a little bit.
Miles,
Oh, there he
those
is.
guys, their canvas was kind of limited for a time until, you know, Miles and those guys made it okay, let's paint with green instead of just yellow. You know what I mean?
Oh, like, yeah, man. You know, you gotta, and you know, that comes from listening to other stuff. You can't, you know, you can't always just, you know, like I got a tune. I'm thinking of one specifically where it's like, yep, I tried to copy the Bruneau mid-60s modal vibe, and here's my tune, you know? You could do shit like that for sure, but you gotta, like, you gotta listen to other shit, else, man. Yeah, you gotta listen to other shit, man.
Because what would Miles and Herbie be saying? They would be saying, man, do what we were doing.
Right.
Like, you need to say something that's going to speak to the people right now.
Right.
Not something that was going on, you know, 50, 60 years ago. I mean, that's cool and it's very valid. I'm sorry, but like,
no, it
doesn't really speak to the folks today.
Right.
And we have a lot to talk about.
Yeah.
You know?
No, for sure.
Catch my drift.
Absolutely, man. And you know, I've always expressed, you know, the non-jazz or the non-golden era of jazz that we love as my only inspiration to when it comes to writing, man. And you know, that's kind of why, like, I do all the electric stuff, and I've been doing the electric stuff for such a long time, because that's
man,
that's where the stuff comes
an
natural
inspiration to me in that regard, because you're a little older than me, and I always saw you doing that and going in that direction, and it's a great outlet.
Oh,
and
yeah,
you do
thanks.
it in a very relatable way to me.
Oh, thanks, man. Yeah. I mean, like, it's like, you know, we're children of the of the 90s, man. There's shit we grew up with that's like, you know, that's the thing. Like, you know, it brings up Marquise Hill, right? Like Marquise, he's like your age, you know, a little bit younger than me, man.
From Chicago, great.
Yeah, here's a cat who probably picked up trumpet in school band, you know, but grew up in Chicago, heard all the, probably heard Lester Bowie's music at the same time he was hearing Public Enemy, you know, because we were, because that was our era, man. And that, and you could tell when you listen to his shit, it's a blend of what he grew up on. And
man, you want to hear something funny?
Yeah.
So you just brought up Lester Bowie, man. When I started playing trumpet in 5th grade. When I was in 6th grade, believe it or not, you know, you might think, listeners out there, that me and Marquise Hill, you know, don't have a lot in common or anything. But you brought up Lester Bowie, and I'm sure Marquise, if you ask him, you should call him up and see what his interactions with
he's a big Donald Byrd fan.
Donald Byrd too. But when I was in 6th grade, man, Lester Bowie came and did a clinic at my middle school with middle school trumpet, with my middle school music teacher, who was a great tenor player, who would, you know, he was teaching me to play trumpet because he was, you know, he was working in public schools, obviously. But so he did a quintet gig, my teacher and Lester Bowie. That really was the one thing that got my gears turning. Yeah. Like, Oh man. And it was just like, I didn't really know who Lester Bowie was at that point. Like they were just playing bird tunes.
Yeah.
And then I went to go find out who Lester Bowie was. And then I found out about the Art Ensemble of Chicago and all of that stuff that he did,
That's
which from an outsider's perspective, a young kid, this cat sounded like Diz. He was playing bird tunes.
Yeah.
So it's like that juxtaposition about what an artist can be. That's really what we're talking about. I think that's the essence of what we're talking about. Like you have to have that basic color palette to work from.
Yeah.
Like, okay, I don't give a fuck if you are, if you're Stravinsky, you give him like a little Casio keyboard with non-weighted keys. I bet you he'd make that motherfucker sound pretty goddamn good.
Absolutely.
It might not be what he wants to play on, but that's the thing about you make your artistry come out no matter what the medium and no matter what the means and no matter what the influence.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Fuck yeah, man. Yeah. I hear you, bro.
Shit.
Well, I look forward to hearing this new stuff. And when this nonsense, look, I'm being a teacher, I'm supposed to get the vaccine pretty quickly. So the second at least I'm inoculated, I'm gonna come over. I want you to show me this shit, because you and I have many beers to catch up on. We have many dirty jokes and huggins and hanging outs that we were denied this year.
I got a dirty joke for you, but I don't know if you want it on the podcast.
Yeah, tell me off the air just to be safe.
Yeah.
Listen,
I think that's probably the best idea.
The last thing I'm gonna bring up here is whenever do you remember, because we're both SNL fans, do you remember the Bill Brasky skit?
Of course I remember Bill Brasky.
So Bill Brasky, that son of a bitch, means to wear a woman's bikini in the office. So while Josh catches his breath, if anyone's not familiar with Bill Brasky, just go on YouTube. Just go on YouTube and look up SNL Bill Brasky. It's an old Will Ferrell skit.
Oh my
God.
Every
time I know I'm going to talk to you, that skit pops in my head.
Man,
you are my Bill Brasky. It's just like Josh Bruneau, that old son of a bitch.
I hope listeners go out and research that skit, because that is a great honor.
The one with Alec Baldwin's my favorite.
Oh man. I mean, it doesn't get any. Is there one? There's not one with Phil Hartman, is there?
I think Hartman was gone by then.
I think he was. Yeah, he was gone.
This was mid to late 90s.
Yeah,
and,
like
or he might have been.
Maybe?
Yeah,
99.
96, 98 maybe.
Yeah.
I know that Rob Corddry is in a lot of them.
Yeah.
He was writing for SNL back then. But there's definitely it's like, it's like Will Ferrell's freshman year at SNL.
Yep.
Years before Elf. Years.
Yeah.
Before.
Yeah. Yeah.
I know there's a John Goodman one too.
Before like Old School even.
Oh yeah. Well, Elf and Old School the same year.
Came out like
03. Same.
03,
yeah, same year.
Right.
But every time I know,
Bill
like
Brasky.
if I look at my phone and I see Josh Bruneau in the text, or I know I'm gonna, I tell the wife, I promise we'll be, we're going out to get a couple of beers. It's always to Bill Brasky, that old son of a bitch.
Bill Brasky, that old son of a bitch.
He blessed my child with scotch. It's so good. Listen, I love you to death. I miss you so much.
Can't tell you how much I miss you, bro.
Man, we be hanging so much this year.
When the weather
thing.
gets warm too,
yeah,
we'll be able to more easily access each other.
One last thing, just because we're coming off the Christmas season. I was, Jill and I were going to get our Christmas tree, and Nat King Cole's A Christmas Song came on.
Oh man!
And I told her, I said, she'll verify it for you. I said, I think this is my favorite Christmas song. It's just so great, right?
Mine too.
And she was like, that's really, that's a good one to pick. And I said, I'll never forget that every gig before Christmas at the Owl Shop you would always play that tune, like second to last.
That's my favorite. That's my favorite Christmas song, man.
It just wasn't Christmas, bro. It just wasn't. So next year, I got to hear that tune. I'm going to be front row center at the Owl Shop.
That makes me really happy to hear you say that. I was having a similar nostalgic feeling for my friend, and you know him. He's a great drummer, Trevor Somerville.
Yeah.
He's a great drummer, a great singer, and he would always sing Donny Hathaway's "This Christmas."
Yeah.
And man, I heard it on the radio the other day, and I got so emotional. Like, I really miss hearing Trevor sing this song.
Sure, man.
Oh, man,
Yep.
Oh, man. But thank you, man. I really, really, really appreciate you saying that. That means a lot.
Dude, you're right here. You know that.
Man.
But we're gonna we'll catch up soon, and
give my love to Daisy and Jill.
Oh, I will. You guys see her, man.
All the kisses.
The dog Daisy got big. She got big. So
I'm sure she did. Yeah.
And I'll same to Mel and and everyone over there at the Bruneau.
I appreciate it. I appreciate it, man.
All right, man. So thanks for coming by, and I'll probably be texting you for the rest of the night anyway. But for the rest of the podcast, I'll see you next time.
Okay, brother.
Take care.
All right.
So like I said at the top of the episode, it is New Year's Eve 2020. Good fucking riddance, right? This year, I don't need to tell you twice that it's been a fucking shit show, and I really appreciate having the opportunity to have Josh on the show, and thank you, buddy, for hanging out with me, because like I've said many times before, this show has been nothing short of cathartic and helping to heal in a very destructive, what seems to be a very destructive year for everyone. And, I know, believe me, I know COVID's not going away tomorrow morning. I know the gigs aren't coming back tomorrow, but the end of 2020 has this symbolism, right? It has this new beginnings vibe, and I'm hoping that we can keep this going, for the next year. And I'm looking forward to all the music that I've got primed and ready to record, and we'll be going into the studio soon to do, and everybody else's projects. My New Year's resolution for sure is to support my fellow musicians more than I did this past year, and I don't mean that in a smug way. I mean that in I truly try to, listen to my colleagues' music, but I'm going to make sure I stay on top of myself, because it's more important than ever this time around. And I'm looking forward to things turn around. Look, like, he ain't perfect, but we got a new president, so let's start there, right? Hopefully from the top down, things will start to get more organized and get the adults in the room. I'm looking forward to going back to school, because I just realized, I was watching the movie Soul, which I'll probably talk about in the next episode. Man, I miss making music with kids. It was a fun part of my day, was the day job of being a public school music teacher. And yeah, I think I'll spend some time next episode talking about that movie. I want to talk about some ska stuff. We're gonna be dipping into like the real deep cuts in the next episode. But like I was saying, New Year's Eve, I wish everyone a happy and safe New Year, and please be safe. Wear that mask. Let's get over this. Let's get through this, and hopefully in 2021 we'll be buying a lot of new records from all kinds of musicians out there. So thanks for tuning in. This has been Mr. Millennial's Revenge. I'm your host, Nick DeMaria. This is a production of the New Haven Jazz Underground. And I'll see you at the next episode. Thanks so much. Take care.